Now that we're officially 10 races into the NASCAR Cup Series season, I thought it would be a good time to check in on the rookies and see how they're faring so far. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric and welcome to Out of the Groove. I hope your week is off to a good start. If you missed it, yesterday I posted my Atlanta race review for yesterday's Cup Series race at Atlanta Motor Speedway, so if you missed that, definitely go check that out. Today though, we're going to talk about the rookies. One of the major stories coming into 2020 was the relatively stacked rookie class. The big three of last year's Xfinity Series season, Tyler Reddick, Cole Custer, Christopher Bell, all found themselves in decent equipment for this year's Cup season, and a couple other names, including some surprises early on this year, have certainly grabbed headlines. We've got Martinsville this Wednesday, a midweek race, so I'm gonna have more to talk about here in just a couple of days, but while I had this brief gap in the action, I thought it'd be great to sit back and kind of look at each of these young rookies' seasons so far and rank them based on who's impressed me the most so far and who's disappointed me the most so far. So thought it'd be kind of fun to check in on how these young drivers are faring so far. We're gonna go in numerical order based on the cars they're driving this year. We'll start with Quinn Houff. Driving the 00 for Starcom. Some of you probably are asking, who is Quinn Houff? There's a rookie named Quinn Houff in the Cup Series this year? Yes, indeed, the 00 has yellow stripes on its bumper this year. Quinn Houff is making his Cup Series, his full-time Cup Series season debut this year for Starcom Racing. Here's the thing about Quinn Houff. I don't mean to sound disrespectful, but he should not be in the NASCAR Cup Series this year. You look at his resume so far, he's made one K&N start, only 5 ARCA starts, only 10 Xfinity starts. He did make 17 Cup Series starts last year in slow equipment, but he's never come close to running a full season in any even somewhat major NASCAR series to this point. He has a grand total of 1 top 10 in all those races I just mentioned. Why that guy has a full-time Cup Series ride, albeit for Starcom Racing, not the fastest team in the world, is beyond me. Obviously money talks, but Quinn Houff, he does have a couple super late model wins in recent years in the Cars Tour, so it's not like the kid can't drive at all, but yeah, he shouldn't be in the Cup Series. He has not paid his dues, as far as on the track at least, in any respect. But if we look at his season so far through 10 races, he's got 2 top 30 finishes. His best finish is 26th. Last year, Landon Castle drove the 00, and at season's end, his average finish was 29.3. Through 10 races right now, Quinn Houff's average finish is 32.6. Not awful, but certainly not good. I'm still a little bit disappointed that Landon Castle, a solid driver, I would say, basically had his contract yanked out from under him with Starcom so that Quinn Houff could have this ride this year. And I don't know, it is what it is. I'm not going to focus too much on Quinn Houff. Let's move on to the next rookie on the list. Let's jump from the lowest in points to the rookie who is currently the highest in points through 10 races. Let's talk about Tyler Reddick making his full season debut in the 8 car for Richard Childress Racing. Tyler Reddick currently sits 18th in points with an average finish of 18.4. He has 2 top 10 finishes, the first Darlington race and the Coca-Cola 600, and Tyler Reddick has stolen a lot of headlines this year. I think he's probably been the most talked about rookie of 2020 so far, in many ways because he has arguably been the most surprising. Obviously, he's the 2-time defending Xfinity Series champion. I think nobody was doubting that he's a decent driver, but given where Richard Childress Racing has been the last couple of years with Austin Dillon and Daniel Hemrick last year, were very disappointing results from that team. I don't think anybody had high expectations for Tyler Reddick this year. I think a lot of people hoped he would make that team a little bit better, maybe flirt with playoff contention, but I don't think anybody expected the results and at least the performance we've seen so far. Reddick caught a lot of people's attention earlier this year at Phoenix when he actually ran top 5, drove up to 2nd before ultimately cutting a tire and wrecking and ended up finishing like 35th. But running up near the front in just his 7th Cup Series start at a unique track like Phoenix International Raceway was quite remarkable, to say the least, and caught a lot of people's attention. Now, I mentioned that Reddick is 18th in points with an average finish of 18th through 10 races so far. Last year, Daniel Hemrick, a rookie in this same number 8 car, he finished 25th in the points at the end of the year and had an average finish of 22.5. So far, Reddick's rookie campaign has looked a few spots better than Daniel Hemrick's rookie campaign from a year ago. So I've been pleasantly surprised by Tyler Reddick. It also is worth noting that RCR in general seems to be running better. Austin Dillon has had really solid speed the last few weeks, especially since the hiatus ended. After a very disappointing 2019 season, Austin Dillon right now is 14th in points. So I would say Tyler Reddick has at least somewhat helped that team turn things around a little bit. So he's been a pleasant surprise. Continuing in numerical order, let's talk a little bit about Brennan Poole, another Rookie of the Year contender. This year he's driving the 15 for Premium Motorsports. Not really a contending team, but Brennan Poole getting some important experience, of course. We've seen Brennan Poole in the Xfinity Series for Chip Ganassi in the past run competitively, so I think everyone knows Brennan Poole is a solid enough driver. He was on the show a few weeks back. Not a whole lot to say about Brennan Poole this year. I do think he's slightly outrun his equipment more often than not. So far this year, he has an average finish of 29.4. That's better than Quinn Houff in Starcom equipment. Poole's also been running the Truck Series this year, so he's getting a lot of at-track experience. He's brought that team some much-needed sponsorship, got a solid 16th place finish in the Daytona 500, ran 24th at Bristol just a few days back. So credit to Brennan Poole. He's had some standout performances this year in not super competitive car. I think that's the best you can do in that situation. Brennan Poole's handled it pretty well so far to start this season. Let's talk about Hunter Nemechek, the rookie for Front Row Motorsports, who's really come out of nowhere to be one of the more intriguing stories early in 2020. Now, Nemechek ran the last 3 races of last year's Cup Series campaign after Matt Tifft had to exit the car due to health reasons, and we saw glimpses at the end of last year where it looked like Hunter might have been the best driver that Front Row Motorsports had, despite having the least experience. Jump to this year, 2020, and almost on a week-to-week basis, yeah, Hunter Nemechek is the class of Front Row Motorsports and has actually looked in a few of these races like the best driver Front Row's ever had. Right now, he sits 21st in points in a Front Row Motorsports car. That is significant. Front Row was a 3-car team last year. This year, they're a 2-car team. But last year, I mean, Matt Tifft in the 36 was 31st in points most of the year. David Reagan in the 38 ended up 30th in points at the end of the season. So Hunter Nemechek, as a rookie, sitting 21st, is noteworthy. Hunter Nemechek has an average finish of 19th so far this year, and he already has 1 top 10 to match the number of top 10s that Matt Tifft got in his rookie campaign last year. And Hunter Nemechek got his top 10 at Darlington a few weeks back, one of the most difficult tracks on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule, so he opened a lot of people's eyes with that run specifically. And for more reference, last year, veteran David Reagan was in the 38 car. He didn't have any top 10s all year long, and his average finish was 8 positions worse, 26.2. So far this year, Hunter Nemechek, a rookie, has single-handedly pulled Front Row Motorsports out of NASCAR purgatory of being like a 28th place team every week into a consistent top 20 threat. We've never seen Front Row Motorsports look this good, and it's largely due to the rookie, Hunter Nemechek. So he has easily been one of the most intriguing and one of the most surprising stories early on this year. 21st in points at the end of the day is not going to get a whole lot of people talking, but the reason we're talking about it right now is because it's such a jump. I just read you the numbers. Last year, David Reagan in that car was 30th in points. We're talking about a 9-spot jump in the standings so far this year for a rookie. A rookie! I'm just saying, Front Row Motorsports likely made the right decision putting Hunter in the 38 car. There are a lot of Rookie of the Year contenders this year. Let's move on to Cole Custer, another member of last year's Xfinity Series Big 3. Cole Custer is driving for Stewart-Haas Racing this year. He replaced Daniel Suarez in the 41 car, and it's been kind of a pretty forgettable season for Cole Custer so far. He has 1 top 10 this year. It was at Phoenix. He had a 9th place finish there. That was pretty noteworthy. But right now, he is 26th in points with an average finish of 22nd. 26th in points. That's tough because when you look at the NASCAR Cup Series standings, his other 3 teammates, albeit veteran drivers, are all in the top 12 in points. All in the top 12, and Harvick just got his 2nd win of the season. I know it's unfair to compare Cole Custer, a rookie, to Kevin Harvick, a future Hall of Famer, but my point is all 3 SHR teams outside of Custer are in the top 12, solidly in the playoffs as of now. Cole Custer is nowhere close to even the bubble, and let's be frank, he's not even close to running top 5 or top 10 on a regular basis. I don't mean to sound too down on Cole Custer. I didn't have super high expectations coming into this year. I expect a little better than 26 when the season's all said and done. I was hoping for a top 20 or top 22 points finish. But the reason I call this year so far just forgettable for Cole Custer is he has not done anything this year to get anyone's attention. He hasn't had a great standout performance at any one racetrack. He hasn't made headlines. I mean, think about Tyler Reddick running 2nd at one point at Phoenix. People took note of that. Talk about Hunter Nemechek making Front Row Motorsports actually look like a contender at Darlington. That was significant. Even Christopher Bell, who we'll talk more about in a minute, has had a couple epic saves this year that have got people talking, made the highlights, made the highlight reel, you know? So Cole Custer doesn't have any of that. I like Cole Custer. I do think he is a solid driver, but the Cup Series cars are different, and it's a different competition level for sure. Custer's used to running top 5 every week, week in, week out in the Xfinity Series. It's not easy to do when you come to Cup. I've been hard on Stewart-Haas Racing in general this year because Kevin Harvick is consistently a top 2, top 3 threat every single week, and his teammates, Eric Almirola, Clint Bowyer, and Cole Custer, a rookie, are nowhere close to that, especially not consistently. Luckily, it's still early this season. I'm sure Cole Custer will have some great runs later on down the line, but right now, 26th in points in an SHR car, not going to cut it. Let's move on to the last rookie, and then I will rank them by who's been the most disappointing to who's been the most surprisingly good so far this year. But before I get to that, let's talk about Christopher Bell, driver of the number 95 Levine Family Racing Toyota, in his rookie campaign, his much anticipated rookie campaign, and he's also been a bit of a disappointment. I've talked about that a few times in recent videos. Right now, he is 25th in points, just ahead of Cole Custer. His average finish is 20.8 through the first 10 races. I mentioned he's had a couple really good saves, got that dirt track background. That dirt track experience has likely helped him out. He does have a couple pretty solid runs. He has 2 top 10s, one at Bristol recently and also in the Coca-Cola 600. So credit where credit is due, but this year, I must say, has been disappointing so far. I mean, Levine Family Racing had an engine failure at Auto Club, which just killed his average finish. But there are high hopes for Levine Family Racing and Christopher Bell this year. He was my Rookie of the Year pick before the season started. I'm sticking with him. It's still early enough that I think there's a lot of things that can change. I'm sure they will get better, but so far it has been a disappointment. Levine Family Racing has not shown the speed people expected. Supposedly, they have a closer alignment with Toyota and Joe Gibbs Racing this year than ever before. We saw glimpses of it last year with Matt DiBenedetto, and they had some pretty solid runs, almost won Bristol in the summer. This year, supposedly, that technical alliance was going to take another step. Christopher Bell is getting a lot more time in the Toyota simulator, but it hasn't turned into results on the racetrack so far. Expectations were high for Christopher Bell this year because statistically, the last couple years in the Xfinity Series, he has been the best Xfinity Series regular, and he was coming into the Cup Series this year with experienced veteran, both Xfinity and Cup Series crew chief Jason Ratcliffe, who he's worked with for several years. They had good rapport, I would say. And with Levine Family Racing supposedly getting more help from Toyota and Joe Gibbs Racing, I think expectations were that the 95 car was going to be a playoff contender. And we've seen glimpses. I mentioned Bristol. I mentioned the Coke 600. We've seen glimpses of good speed, but we've seen a lot of mishaps. Some of it Bell, some of it the team, some of it mechanical. But so far, 25th in points through the first 10 races is not what we expected from Christopher Bell. The last several years of NASCAR Cup Series rookies have largely been disappointing, I will say, at least as far as their rookie campaigns go. You know, gone are the days of the 90s and early 2000s when rookies would come onto the scene and immediately start contending for wins and immediately start winning races. I don't want to go down the whole list again, but like Jeff Gordon, Dale Jr. Mackin, they all won in their rookie years. Tony Stewart, you know, they all won races and were winning a lot of races very quickly in their careers. The current generation of young drivers, I mean, Chase Elliott took 2.5 years to win. William Byron is 2.5 years in, still does not have a win. Alex Bowman took a while. Took Eric Jones a year and a half. Blaney, same thing. My point is the young drivers of recent years have taken longer to adapt to the Cup Series and have taken longer to kind of find their footing and compete for wins consistently. But a lot of people, including myself, were hopeful that maybe Christopher Bell would be the guy to break that streak. Bell is obviously an extremely talented dirt racer, but his 2 full-time years in the Xfinity Series, he combined for 15 wins in 2 seasons. Nobody else was putting up those numbers, and with him going to Toyota, going to a Joe Gibbs Racing satellite team this year, myself, as well as many others, I think, were hopeful that maybe Christopher Bell could break out, win a race or two this year in his rookie campaign, and make the playoffs easily. But unfortunately, reality has been a pretty hard slap in the face. Christopher Bell looks mediocre out there. I mean, he looks like a young driver. I mean, young drivers obviously don't have the experience these other drivers do. The Cup Series cars drive dramatically different than Xfinity cars. So, of course, it's going to be difficult to transition into this style of racing, but I mean, Christopher Bell just looks mediocre out there. It's still early, and like I said, I'm sticking with him as my Rookie of the Year pick because I have faith that Toyota, that Ratcliffe can put things together and start to run out some top 10s, top 15s pretty consistently. I'm confident that that will happen at some point this year, but it hasn't come close to happening so far, and that has been surprising to me, and that has been disappointing to me so far. So let's jump to that now. Most surprising so far to most disappointing. Well, the most surprisingly good, I should say, rookie driver this year has been Hunter Nemechek, without a doubt. Like I said earlier, he's made that 38 car for Front Row Motorsports look like a playoff contender, and that's never been done before, other than the year Chris Buescher got lucky at Pocono and got a win, actually made the playoffs, but I'm not going to count that. So he has easily been the most pleasant surprise so far. Second, I would say, is Tyler Reddick. Of course, we knew Tyler Reddick was good winning those Xfinity Series championships, but he has made RCR look competitive again. I shouldn't give him all the credit. Austin Dillon seems to be doing a good job this year as well. RCR in general seems better, but Reddick has had a few very impressive performances at traditionally difficult racetracks, so he has been the second most impressive rookie driver so far. There's a pretty big jump here to third and fourth. I mean, Quinn Houff and Brennan Poole, I didn't really have huge expectations. I'll say Brennan Poole seems to be making that 15 car, that Premium Motorsports team, look a little bit better. He's probably putting them in a slightly better spot than they were in last year. So I'll give Brennan Poole credit for that. He's probably third on my list. Quinn Houff isn't really doing anything. Most of these races, it's just him trying to stay out of the way. I mean, it just is what it is. It's the nature of the business for some of those small teams. And when you put a driver that has, very little experience in big Cup Series NASCAR style race cars, it's only going to be exacerbated. So yeah, it's been, disappointing. It's just been there. The two easily most disappointing drivers, rookie drivers so far. I'll start with Cole Custer. Again, I didn't have super high expectations for Cole Custer this year. I thought he could be a playoff contender, but right now they certainly do have some work to do. Christopher Bell, though, has been the most disappointing, mainly because I had the highest expectations for him. I kind of just talked about it. I really thought he could be the first rookie we've seen in a long time to actually show up and look like a contender right off the bat. This is the best chance we've had since Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott looked really competitive his rookie year, was really impressive, but he didn't win. And he didn't win in his sophomore year either. So I was hoping Christopher Bell could be competitive like Chase Elliott, but also snag a couple wins. That would have been huge for him and his popularity, and for kind of that storyline of the rookies finally maybe standing up to the veterans and looking good and looking like legitimate challengers. Because you look at who's winning races this year in the Cup Series. It's Kevin Harvick, it's Denny Hamlin, it's Brad Keselowski, Chase is getting the wins, but it's the veteran drivers that are still eating up the vast majority of the wins so far in the Cup Series season. That's because these young guys, as good as some of them have turned out to be, I see Chase Elliott, I see Blaney, these other drivers, at the end of the day, veteran drivers, experience matters, and that continues to be proven week in, week out. So Christopher Bell has easily been the most disappointing so far, but I still have the highest expectations for Christopher Bell. I still think he will be the Rookie of the Year winner when it's all said and done. But Tyler Reddick, Hunter Nemechek have been impressive so far. Let me know what you guys think. Yeah, we just sat down and talked about the rookies for a long, long time. I might do some other videos like this for other groups of drivers in the coming days, coming weeks. So let me know if you enjoyed this one, and I could do something on maybe a topic that you find interesting here coming soon. So leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of today's episode, because that is all I've got. Thank you all for watching. Subscribe if you are new. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram. Of course, a big thank you to my Patreon supporters. Love seeing all these names on this list. I could not do this show without your support on Patreon. If you also want to support the videos, check out that top link down in the description below. I greatly appreciate it. More videos coming soon. Obviously, Wednesday night is the Martinsville night race for the Cup Series. I'll be having a video out shortly thereafter with my reaction to that one. But hope you guys are all having a good week. I will see you on Hump Day, Wednesday, with another upload. Take care, y'all.